Hello, everyone. We would like to welcome you all for the second day of digitizing the real estate, which we looking forward for an exciting session on utilizing digital tools via the VR and AI in real estate. I'd like to introduce our panel discussion, starting with
the digital investigate the voice of digitalizing
Ahmed, Salah, Etisalat, Misr, intelligent automation.
أنا عايزك بس in case طلبت presentation
manager. I'd like to introduce Mr. Ajit Ghaffar, IGI Real Estate Chief Sales Officer. And Mr. Majid Farrag, who's the founder, creative managing director of 5DVR. Dr. Ajit Jaokar, University of Oxford, head of course director of artificial intelligence, cloud, and edge implementation, and the great friend of the hospitality, Ms. Marloes Knippenberg, Kerten Hospitality, the CEO of Kerten Hospitality. We would like to start with the presentation from Kerten Hospitality about the view on AI, and then we will we'll open the floor for the panelists to discuss and I have a couple of questions for Marloes. And then after that, we will have a presentation from Dr. Ajit Jaokar about AI and post-COVID-19 era in the real estate, with opening, again, discussion with the panelists. And then at the end, we will have a Q&A part of the session. So could we start? Velina with the presentation.
Thank you very much, Haitham. So while Velina shows the presentation, I will take over just on a view from hospitality on artificial intelligence. And I'm guessing you're wondering, why would you be looking at me talking about a subject like this? So we're doing a lot of hospitality work together with Haitham, but with Misr, the developer who I think over the years we created such a special bond with, and I would say are really trendsetters in understanding how to change the world of hospitality. When you look at the kind of brands that we have, we own the house as a brand, Cloud7, Outspace, and some F&B brands. So we do service apartments, branded residences, hotels, and F&B. And what more do you need, you know, to be able to use this than modern technology? Just really quickly about myself. My background is years of Hilton, and I changed just because I could see the changes in the industry and the fast developments that were taking place in the industry. And so we started developing new brands that were really connected, close to technology. So digitization and artificial intelligence are the major drivers for innovation in the hospitality. Now, when you look at artificial intelligence, now in our day-to-day life, you know, we all think it's so normal that we talk to Siri, or, you know, we scream, Alexa, coffee. You know, the whole COVID situation, I think Amazon has never seen as many people buying as they have now. And seemingly when you go on Amazon, they pretty much know what you want already before you've even put something in the search bar up on the top. Tesla, when they came with the electrical cars, we were all looking at, you know, oh, stupid, can't happen, flying cars can't happen. And these cars actually now can drive themselves. And the innovation on this is just purely connected to the brain. Spotify, Pandora, you know, your phone pretty much thinks for you, listens for you, sees for you. And for this, you know, when you go on your social media, how often do you get something presented that exactly you were thinking? It's just exactly the algorithms that are being used. So if I take artificial intelligence for the hospitality industry specifically, we've always, and I take hospitality as wider, so hotels, any residences that have services, service departments, serviced offices, as well as a selection of food and beverage. How do you kind of connect the data that you have on all of the visitors and all of the consumers kind of together? And how do you perform a special service or an experience that is tailored to somebody? Chatbots are becoming much more normal. You WhatsApp, from the CEO to the president to any other person in the world. So people, if you want a towel or if you want something delivered, it's so normal to start sending a WhatsApp message or communicating with people to get what you want pretty much instantly. Front of house artificial intelligence, without having to check in through very difficult channels, just going in straight there. So when you look at that and you look into the future, and I think this whole COVID situation has really accelerated some of the trends that were already happening. I don't think in the last 3 months, people came up with the most innovative ideas. I think they just had the opportunity to really shoot out some incredible innovation. But when we talked about, front desks or arrival experiences or something like this, the room that you want to have, the location where you want to be, not to be dependent on a human, but to be dependent on technology could be a great advantage. I don't know how many of us know the jet lag feeling of having traveled through the world all the time. Just being able to adapt, adjust, and for somebody to pretty much look in your brain, adapt the situation to make you feel better. Views from any hotel and restaurants, even 5 years ago when we started, there was one of these kids from, a very well-established family who said, why do you care about interior design? You just give somebody the Oculus glasses and you make their interior whatever they want it to be. And just paint the whole hotel white, which I thought was hilarious at the time. And he was very serious, and he was 12 years old at the time. And now when you look at what's happening in the world, people want the instant. People want the kind of changes that they want for the feeling that they have, for the mood that they're in, and for the people that they're sharing with. When you take this to meetings, I don't know how many of you watch CSI Miami, CSI New York, any of these programs, when they just take, any building, turn it upside down and it's all in the air. They're no longer building these kind of houses together, with the little details. They're actually there discussing, pointing, ticking, and everything is happening in the air. Something that, again, when we were watching these movies, it was all like, ha ha ha, so funny. But this is something that is really elaborated. And with the data that you're giving constantly everywhere, and the data that's being collected, you're actually allowing for us as hospitality operators to really operate and bring that all together. And it's when Sophie came, the first AI robot, everybody was saying, oh, ha ha ha, this is never going to have legs. Now when you look at the YouTube videos on what her capabilities are, what the sensibilities are, there is a lot that you can where you can take the human element out and replace this with not just a robot, but a robot that can anticipate on what you want. And they're saying the luxury of the future is pretty much individualized experiences wherever that is, if that's home, if that's at work, if that's at school, and you tailor it to your experience. So that's in brief just my setting the tone on AI, hospitality, and myself. So Haitham, thank you for giving me the opportunity to just, at least set the connection.
No, thank you so much, Marloes. And again, I think, or I believe that the AI and VR will play a great role in the future in the hospitality, because is so much that they can offer, and they can use the hospitality business to enhance the guests' experience and be more, I would say, utilizing more of tailored services for guests, which the whole industry is aiming for and delivering exciting things. Now, I think what we going to, I think the first question is kind of coming along into the hospitality is, do you firstly, as we talking about the real estate generally in one way or another, do you believe the AI could play a role in hospitality sector expansion plans now, utilizing this tool would take the expansion plan to different countries, cities, or areas within cities, or even choosing a development from creating kind of input through AI, or even evaluating current locations as hospitality locations. How do you see the VR and AI could be utilized in kind of making the decision? Would it make it easier for hoteliers to look into different areas and different aspects? How do you see it generally?
I think you know, technology in general is really helping us, and I think when you look at VR, like just the ability to give people an idea of what you envision. You know, at the end of the day, when somebody talks to you about a hotel, or you know, a mix of hotel, service departments, residences, living, schooling, and all of these components, you know, it's great. I talk with my hands all the time, but that does not give you anything visual to imagine, you know, how something is going to look like. And I think as humans, we still like to buy something either from people we like, or something that we can envision and that we think is really relevant. I think with AI, you're so much more capable to understand what the requirements are of the different stakeholders, of the different demographics around you. And this is something that you can really replicate. And I think, you know, we've always been collecting data. For years, we've been collecting data. And I think this is the first opportunity to really use that data, convert that into platforms. And so if you're a real estate developer or an owner at this scale, or you're at this scale, or you this scale, you know, if I go to Amazon and I buy something, they also give me something at this scale, or this scale, depending on what I've been searching for, what I've been doing on my computer, and, you know, what my capabilities are pretty much. And I think absolutely this will play a great role. And I think it's so much easier to connect globally and not anymore just locally. And it will take much less time and much less travel.
Oh yeah. I guess it's a great thing, kind of, to even for the end users to start. And this is where it takes me to the next question is about how do you think the hospitality sector would benefit from AI and VR to enhance the guest experience, and especially that we know that when you travel, you want to see where you're going, and you choose the hotel with the environment, with the experience, with the hotel look in the interiors. Isn't that something that you're looking forward to enjoy on a different scale, which probably you wouldn't have it at home? So the whole guest experience, how that would be improved or enhanced, or kind of more creating tailored environment for guests through the VR and AI?
I think, you know, it's multifaceted. I think when you talk about these things, the first thing normally people say is, you know, we are in the hospitality industry. It's an industry of humans, so therefore AI and VR won't work. I'm the opinion that most people don't like the transactional parts of the hospitality. If that is a check-in, if that's waiting for the laundry in your service department, if that is the tour in your serviced office, but you actually just want to go to your workspace, you know, all of these kind of transactional things you can take away by adding technology. And so you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, at your time, and even in advance. So I think the customer journey in that sense, you know, you all of a sudden enhance that immediately. When you look at tailored experiences, before you couldn't do it. You know, you created experiences that were called orange, blue, and yellow, and you put what they were and you put the kind of status with it, because you couldn't deal with the number of requests, and neither could you anticipate of what somebody wanted. Now, if somebody talks to Siri or Alexa, you don't need a physical interaction for somebody to get exactly to the level that they want to have it. I think it's still in the kind of initial shoes, it's still expensive. I don't think all of the infrastructure is ready to entertain this kind of level of technology. But when you look at Generation Z, they were born with technology. They know nothing different than technology. When you speak to them, they just say, where is it? You know, and this is the thing that, you know, when we're doing our developments and when we're building for the future and when we're looking at these kind of profitability per square meter kind of scenarios, you know, this is what you're building for.
Yeah, great. I mean, that takes me to the next level of this, and see how again utilizing the AI and the VR into the actual hospitality business. I mean, as a hotelier, you would think, right, I have so many areas that we might utilize these tools in, whether it's front of house, back of house, general experience, or guest experience, or even on the management level, managing
Yes.
different locations from one headquarters. How do you see the AI and kind of the VR helps at the most kind of which level do you think is going to have more effect? Which level that you might need more work to do to kind of to utilize more data and, you know, the AI into this into the
I would
business?
say the VR, probably the greatest efforts and like benefits would be pre-development of a project. So really kind of all of the kind of design work, the customer journey, the flows, the back of house areas, you know, anything that you want to kind of visualize how it would look or how it would experience. AI, I think, will hit first front of house, then meeting areas, because it's something that I think people have been looking for a very long time. When we had the economic crisis years ago, everybody stopped traveling and was buying these expensive cameras. They never really worked in meeting rooms because you still had everybody sitting together. But I think now, with everybody being in a home office, looking for remote offices, looking for kind of business hubs, wanting to connect to other businesses and using it kind of for the extension of their own business, I think this is where it goes first. With regards to the management and back of house, I think it's something that's almost like a phase 2, phase 3, whatever, whichever you want to call the phase that we're in at the moment, is once we actually, you know, hit the ground kind of, and we are moving with it, I think you can do fantastic stuff with it because you have the data, you can connect people, and you can go from there. So that's kind of my view on where this is leading in the future.
Perfect. I mean, I think it's a great insight into part of the real estate general, which is the hospitality, which I think we approaching the future era. I mean, if we go back to before connectivity and internet and mobile phones or whatever, before then we didn't see that how quickly we can connect, how we can see everywhere, how to be connected worldwide and seeing everywhere everything happens.
Haitham, sorry, your voice is not heard clearly. I think you should raise your voice a little bit. I'm not hearing you well.
Okay.
And if please let us know, based on which presenter we can comment, because that was a really enlightening presentation from the hospitality side. However, implementation of VR in countries like Egypt moving forward is a bit of a nightmare on implementation. So we've got some comments that we need to implement.
Yes.
Yes, we've done that in London with the hologram and everything. Yet we are in Egypt, and doing a VR showroom from 0 to 100 in 30 seconds in Egypt, where we're having hard time paying online payments of our phone bills, is a bit on the hard side. So just let me know when we can comment. I can comment on that, and please increase your voice a bit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ali. Now, Marloes, we just have that presentation and a quick chat with Marloes, and then we'll open the floor for the panelists to comment on the presentation and put different perspectives into to see to the audience to see what.
And if it's possible, we've done something a little bit unique. So at any point in time, I have my international sales director here, that it will take us like 3 minutes to present to you guys, because we've done a full solution on the digital side from the website till the payment collection, as I spoke to you yesterday. Thank you.
Okay, we'll come into that. Marloes, I think she needs to jump off now for quickly, and then we'll
I'll
join
see you back later
with a question and answer. Thank you so much, Marloes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sorry, now we will take the discussion into, as I just mentioned, to the panelists to hear from the great panel, different point of views. Back to pick up the point from Marloes's presentation. If I go to start with Mr. Ahmed Salah, I hope you enjoyed the presentation from Marloes and understanding how VR and AI could affect and utilize could be utilized in the hospitality sector. Now, understanding from your side, you are involved in different side of the AI and VR business, in more of the infrastructure, the more of the preparing. So with experience on the ground in Egypt, how do you see it? How do you see the implementation? How do you see it affecting the real estate?
Okay. Hi everyone. Actually, the AI business, or to start with, we can define the AI in a business language to see like humans, to hear like humans, to feel like humans, even now to smell like humans. This is the most important part of AI, or what is defining AI, the artificial intelligence. It's mimicking the human intelligence, actually. So there is one arm which is data science and machine learning. I guess I'll leave this to Ajit's presentation. I saw a bit of it. It will talk about it, and it will talk about the use cases. Very interesting use cases, of course, and it's very promising. The other arm is the IoT, because it really defines the definition, or really presents the definition of AI, because it's actually everywhere in smart cities. Specifically, smart cities are actually based on IoT sensors everywhere. So we have this smart gates, smart grid, the smart meters, smart parking. I'll talk about each one of this briefly now, but this would actually define the future in smart cities. This would actually be the target of new generations, because they love everything digital. They love it instant. They use their mobile apps to do everything. In smart parking, for example, they can search for a spot, and an empty spot in some parking. They can just even reserve it. for them, so they can, whenever they arrive, they have their own spot ready for them. So this is the life of new generations. They are used to everything digital, everything is easy, everything is instant, as Marloes said. So this is the requirements. These are the requirements for anything in the future now. So actually, if they are now making their own families and building trying to have their own homes, they will of course target smart cities. They will target smart compounds and smart buildings, because this matches their culture and this matches their whatever technology they saw, and now they are used to it. Not like us, we are used to all technologies and stuff like this. Memes talking about old phones and cassettes and stuff. They didn't know this. They didn't see this. They didn't suffer from these old technologies. So they are used to whatever new. They are used to mobile applications, using their mobile applications and everything. So actually, this is the future, and Etisalat actually saw this opportunity back from a couple of years now, and they moved forward. And they took it, and they took this operation in the new administrative capital to manage the COC, or the city operations center, to manage everything in the new capital, electronically, digitally, using sensors, the smart meters everywhere now. You can imagine smart meters like now ADSL routers or Wi-Fi routers. They are there at your home, reading data, reading whatever usage they are doing, and controlling everything, collecting data, of course. This can be used later on in data science and machine learning use cases. We even saw this opportunity of using VR, coming back to VR, in data visualization, to see like your data graphs, or reading all the data from your buildings, from your pipes, from your grids, from your meters, and you're presenting it in a virtual state. Now we are using Oculus devices and those smart devices, but in the future you have holograms. Actually, not in the future now. It's over there in London, as mentioned, or in Europe in general. But maybe we can have this soon, of course. We have even smart grids that reporting any issues, or using sensor, of course, and taking actions. And this is the beautiful part of AI. You can see like humans, feel like humans, hear like humans, but the beautiful part of it is making a decision using machine learning and data science, and taking actions. Of course, action, not necessarily like humans, or it's what machines are made for, but it can take actions, and quick actions, and this will of course provide us with more safety, more security, less problems, and long-term saving, of course, because you don't pay for issues and don't keep paying for fixing and maintenance. Everything is over there, maintained automatically using machines. So these are the main ideas behind the smart cities. Of course, the main pillar between all this is the digital engagement with the customer, using applications and using. This is of course what the new generations are aiming for, using application to pay anything in the city, to pay even their transportation in the city, monitored by GPS devices and everything. Even they know what maintenance is taking place in anywhere in the city or in the building they get notifications of everything happening in the city. This is what the new generations will be aiming for, and this is what the real estate industry should be, of course, aiming for in the coming few years, because this will be the demand. This will be the main demand for new generations. So this is what I'm also.
Yes, I think it's a great Ahmed. Thank you so much for this, and it's quite exciting, because basically, as Egypt has a very young population going into the future, this is the future. We're building for these young generations' future, one way or another. Which again, as Marloes said at the start of the session, it is that the generation X and after that will be their future. They don't know anything apart from technology and how to use this. However, in the meantime, there's an issue which most of the AI input and rely on is the data. And we have an issue with collecting data, of course, because we don't have much. So along the line, I think we will be in a process of collecting data and implementing the new technology, as it were. So I guess it's going to be a exciting future process to do both. And I think the implementation will have to be to adapt according to collecting the data through the data collected throughout, one way or another.
Of course, yes, of course. Data is very important for making the decision and learning. The machine learning itself, it learns from data. So if there is no data, it will not learn. Of course, it will take the wrong decisions. Of course.
If I may just jump into Ajit quickly, and I'd like to hear from you more about this issue. Is how do we deal with this? I mean, in terms of data, again, we don't have a great deal of data that we can base on the AI, but I think we can still get some base to start with the AI involvement and in the real estate in Egypt.
Sure.
What are your views on this?
Sure. Thank you, Hashim. So firstly, I would like to add something to Mr. Ahmed Salah, and what he rightly said was about the younger generation. But it's very interesting that when I saw something today, I saw something recently about a cartoon which said that who had implemented digital transformation in your company. Option 1 was CEO, option 1 was CTO, and option 3 was COVID-19. Yes. And I think the reality is that for all of us, it is a sudden wake-up call. And even when people talk about how hard it is in different countries and how difficult it is, suddenly we have realized that this is not an option anymore, meaning that in the UK, you are not using cash anymore. In fact, you're not using the cash machine because you're afraid of touching the keyboard for the cash machine. So I think that this is a major transformation, and this will lead to a lot of the digital side. So I think I very much agree to what Mr. Ahmed Salah just said about the general trend. And I'm seeing this very strongly in the UK, and I'll talk about that. About the data side, I think that's another very interesting question. In fact, I have addressed it in my presentation towards the end, because the question is not the data, i.e. the acquisition of the data. I'm talking about privacy and security and stuff like that. The problem with data is that the data we have is not very useful going forward. By this, I mean that when you have a sudden event which has changed, yes. So if you try to learn from history, data, what is data? Data is history. Yes. So history is what is trying to teach you what is going to happen in the future. But if there is a sudden shift, i.e. what has happened now, how useful is the transaction from last 2 years to predict what is going to happen in the next 6 months? You know, so this is a problem, and this is something which we have to rethink this, and this I will discuss a little bit more in my presentation, but I think I agree with the issues being said here. Yeah.
That's very, very useful. Sorry, I'm gonna move to Mr. Ali Abdul Ghaffar, just to kind of again to have your view on what's being discussed through start with Marloes on the hospitality and Mr. Ahmed Salah and Dr. Ajit. How do you think the AI now will help? Again, I understand that you wanted to present something. We'll kind of just make it on the structure later on after Ajit's presentation. Then we'll have more time to discuss this. But for now, I just wanted your view and your thoughts how we go into the AI affect sales marketing strategies in the real estate. Sorry, Mr. Ali, you're muted. So,
thank you, Haitham, and hello everyone. Really glad to be joining you guys today. Before I go into the AI and digitalizing the real estate world, just a piece of information. I was based in Pakistan for the past 3.5 years as the Chief Commercial Officer for Naguib Sawiris real estate arm in Southeast Asia. And what we have done here in the past 6 months, we've done already in Pakistan 3 years ago, right? I have a bit of concern about naming AI and the word AI when we talk about the real estate industry and our route to market. Because if we want to really implement what we're saying, yes, during my Pakistan days, I had an affiliate partner who were selling to about 8 million Pakistanis back in Pakistan, back home in the UK. And we had a real virtual reality showroom on Edgeware Road with Copperstones in the UK with Sajid Bashir. And we really had the hologram, but we had the type of client who understands what we're positioning. When we wanted to implement this back in Pakistan, we couldn't do that in Pakistan because Pakistan is like Egypt. I cannot go and spend about £500,000 sterling pounds, which is about 75 million Egyptian pounds, in order to implement an AI virtual reality showroom that with the hologram and with everything in Cairo or in Giza. Yes, I can do that in Park Lane showroom. I can do that in Edgeware Road, where all the money is. I can do that in Dubai, yes, but I can never do that in Egypt. So if the topic today is digitalizing the real estate market, I'm assuming for Egypt, right? I'm not sure going with the artificial intelligence or the virtual reality at this stage, we have the sufficient infrastructure. If Ahmed with us in Etisalat yet, he can confirm now that each satellite station is overutilized by 140%. During the COVID-19 issues, we had all the problems with our Wi-Fi at home because of excess. 90% of the cities, they don't have ADSL lines, so you have to have a portable Wi-Fi. I can write books, yeah, Haitham. I can write books on this.
If I may, that's the reason why we're having this now.
Yes,
yes.
So the solution, yeah, I'm coming. I'm coming to that.
Plan for the future. Now, post COVID-19 is a different era, which
actually,
the whole world suffered the same thing.
What I'm trying to say here, that with the real estate industry, I left to Pakistan back in 2015. I came back in 2019. All of a sudden, payment terms are stretched from 10% and 5 years into 0 down payment in 20 years. So competition is fierce, and we don't have the sufficient infrastructure for the AI. What we should do, that's what I'm saying, and that's what I want to present. Okay. Since the February...
I mean, in the future, I mean, talking about future implementation or using the AI.
I'm coming to that, Haitham, yes. What I'm trying to say here, since COVID-19, since March, let's talk about Q2, okay? Q2, each and every developer has gone down, the market has gone down to 60-70%. That's confirmed reports from Farrag on developers that are listed. So each one of them has came up with, I have the digital solution of selling online. I have the best people that can talk to you online. I can deliver the contract to you at home sanitized. I have someone who's wearing gloves to take the checks from you. The real estate market in Egypt is extremely difficult. Competition is fierce. Everybody is like everybody, which has been shown now with the closing of the year that we don't have A, B, and C class developers now. We've got real estate developers that are going to do from 8 to 12 billion, and those are Amar and Talat Mustafa. We've got other developers that are going to do from 3 to 6 million, and that's everybody else, including our sponsors of InvestGate, including everything.
Yes,
in order to move forward,
AI help us on to changing this? I mean, this is what we're trying to say here.
Yeah. So basically, selling online is the solution, Haitham. Selling online is the solution. Selling online means that you have to have a strong website. You cannot have a website with not strong security walls. You have to have a virtual tour that's being done on the website where you can take your selling items to the client. And then you take the client to the reservation phase. You have an online chat. You don't ask the client to go into Zoom meeting and you share the screen with him. This is not digital sales. This is not AI. You go online, and the online chat has to be treated as your call center, where the CRM on shifts can talk to clients. Once you reach this phase, you have to have the approval of the Central Bank of Egypt to take payment online. You've got only 4 sources that can approve getting payment online. So if we want to take off the downsize of the market through real digital sales, you have to have strong websites, you have to have virtual tours that are being spent equal to your product on the ground, equal to your mock-up showroom. And then you have to, once you do that, you start generating your digital leads.
Ask a question quickly on, from your point of view, all the current developers, they have a database, they have already done a historical background of their development. What do you recommend? How do you use the AI to improve the service? How do we emphasize this? I understand completely your frustration on what's happening on the ground.
No, I'm trying to be on reality, on grounds with you guys. I'm trying to share a small success story, but I had to give you the background.
Now we're talking about, yes, for sure, that everyone is talking about the post-19 era, which is changing the whole world, it's not just Egypt. What do we consider? Now, great to hear the implementation and where we stand, and we'd see where we're gonna be.
We can show you if you guys want what we've done, but that's fine.
What do we need to do? How do we take it forward?
Okay, the issue, Haitham, the issue, unfortunately, that the old-fashioned real estate market of having direct sales, each one generates his own leads, you don't rely on broker. The old model, when I was VP of the MAC in 2005, we didn't work with brokers. We hired a large sales team, yes, but each one is working through his own leads. What has happened now that the market has gone from 80% direct to 80% indirect in like 5-6 years. The issue now with what you're asking more is the leads generation, Haitham, and this is what we spoke about. It's really frustrating that we don't spend properly on generating proper leads with proper demographics, with proper project unique selling propositions. Everybody is selling leads to everyone. I had some real estate investments back in the past 15 years. One of them was with certain developer that I sold like 8 years ago. I keep getting cold calling. And it was in the name of my father-in-law. So, Mr. Gamal, please, do you want to sell? Guys, everybody sells leads to everyone. There is a menu. There is a menu on sales.
Then we'll come back to your presentation and more further discussion. I just wanted to kind of to get some more views.
Yeah, okay.
We'll come back into this.
All right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ali. I need to move to Mr. Majid Farrag, I'd like to hear from you again, as already done a bit of work on
artificial intelligence.
On artificial intelligence.
في بقى المرحلة الجنين بيبقى الفيرتشوال تور. الاي اي ده بقى انا عملت تطور تاني خاص اسمه
Mr. Ali, sorry,
Okay, now it's
thank you so much. Thank you. So, Mr. Majid.
Okay, so let me start by, of course, thanking you and everybody who's helped to put this panel together. It's very interesting and exciting. Before I start, let's put some context. There's VR, and there's AR, and there's MR. And the three technologies, they do a lot of functional applications that help the real estate developer from the design and even the build and construction and the sales and the after sales. If we define the three different technologies and how they can help actually the developers at the different stages, so there's a lot that can be done. It's not only about sales and marketing. You can use the technology in the design and layout. You can use the technology while you're building, actually in the construction phase. You can put on a headset and then walk on the site and see the infrastructure or the blueprints of the pipes and see how everything is actually matching with the reality. And I'm talking about actual use cases that are out there. Maybe not in Egypt, but this is, while back to the point Mr. Ali was mentioning about the adoption and how real estate developers are using the technology. Of course, the focus here in Egypt is on the sales and marketing. This is where, creating the wow factor, and this is where it starts. But there's actually, when we started the first project we did in virtual reality was back in 2014 when the hype started in the whole world. And that was for a client outside of Egypt, not in Egypt. But I can say that there's now a lot of developers that we are working with, and I know that they are working with other, VR developers and AR developers in Egypt, because there's a growing, population of service providers as such. So in general, if we look at it that way, again, I'm focused on XR, which AR, VR, and MR, and how they can help real estate across the different phases from design all the way until after sales. And then AI, like Mr. Ahmed said, of course, it's big data, it's IoT, it's all of this. And the next level of innovation, I believe, will happen when the fusion happens between these technologies. So we'll have an AR app that uses AI connected to a blockchain that has something to do with an IoT. So this is actually what will phase the new, wave of innovation, I believe. So, yeah.
I'm going to move now to Dr. Ajit for presentation. So just kind of to keep control on time. Dr. Ajit, can you start with your presentation highlighting how post-COVID-19 AI in real estate view?
Sure. I'll share my screen now, yes?
Yes, please.
Okay, good. So thank you very much. Okay. So do you see my screen now?
Yes. That's fine.
Very good. Perfect. Yes. So thank you everybody, and great to be here. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, within about 10 minutes, try to explain how artificial intelligence could work with real estate, and also in a post-COVID situation, which is really what we are talking about in this context. So what we are referring to here is the fact that I'm trying to make the screen go down. Okay, I don't know why. Okay, here we go. Okay, yeah, this is fine. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So a little bit about me. So I teach artificial intelligence at Oxford University. I teach a specific course called Cloud and Edge Implementations, which looks at AI full stack, right up to small devices, which means we work with everybody from Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Intel, ARM, and things like that. So we work pretty much across the whole stack within there. I'm also involved in a couple of other courses, which again teach very heavy coding of AI, and also very much on the math side of AI. So that is my kind of day life. So just to let you know, that means I'm not an expert in real estate. Also, interestingly enough, my perspective is more global, which is quite useful in this context, because I've been hearing about Egypt, and in that sense, it would be nice to also share and also learn from you as well. So first of all, I start off with this headline, which I saw in the BBC, which is a video which says that Central London is a ghost town. And this means a lot. I mean, if somebody had told me this was a major headline on a weekday of BBC's people saying Central London is a ghost town 2 months ago or 3 months ago, I would have laughed at them, because this is not possible. I mean, if you know how much the London Underground means to everybody, I think that this is a real culture shock for us, yes? Next thing is that On the other hand, there is a strange interesting announcement as well. Since the lockdown has stopped, which is for us about 2 weeks now, there is a boom in the real estate market. Yes, both the rentals as well as purchasing. So suddenly we are seeing this weird headlines, which you have never even think week by week, day by day. They change so much extreme, and this is partly where I'm coming to in my discussion as well. And then I saw this one, which I sent to Haitham on WhatsApp. And basically, this is Barbados offering a 12-month remote working holiday to attract visitors. Yes. So now think about it, that if you are suddenly taking that work from home is your default, then your home is very different, and your home may not be very similar. It would have different facilities. It may not be even your current home. You know, it could be somewhere in Barbados. You could take a 12-month contract, work from there for your company, and this is what the government of Barbados seems to think is going to happen, which is true. Again, it's not a made-up headline. And then again, Rightmove, which is one of the real estate sort of brokers here, has said that they want to give back the government's retention bonus. Means that they think that they have picked up their market so fast post the lockdown that they are not taking the government's help, which again is interesting. Again, what I'm trying to show you is this such a large spectrum of movement of headlines which you never would have thought in such a rapidly short time. So now coming back to the real estate industry. The real estate industry had adopted innovations, but like I said, COVID is a game changer. COVID is a matter of survival, and it will create new winners, which is exactly the sort of theme of my discussion. It will require radical solutions to radical problems. AI needs data, which we already know, and that creates a potential barrier because getting hold of data is not easy. The skills shortage is a very big barrier. I will come back to that again as well. AI in general is going to be big. Nobody doubts that. Yes. So, I mean, PwC says 15.57 trillion or by 2030. And nobody doubts, even in the sort of post-COVID era, that AI and technology are not a part of the recovery. Yes. So this is important. On the other hand, the real estate industry has always had certain structural questions. So for example, occupancy rates and so on and so forth, and the budget overruns. So this was always been the fundamental problems which already existed in the real estate industry. I don't think they are going to go away. They're just going to be sort of looked at in a different way. And more interestingly enough, and which is the sort of then my next few slides, is that there is a lot of innovation for AI in the startup space, especially for real estate. Yes. And so, for example, IBM had this thing called Triagra, which talked about utilizing office space by looking at all the sensors, Wi-Fi, etc. in your office. It also included talking to your sensors so that you can tell physically what is right, what is wrong. Suddenly solutions like these look so weird so many years ago, but this is now very real, because in the UK you have social distancing inside offices, inside classrooms, for example, in Oxford as well. So how exactly do you do this? It's very hard to do. Yes, because you have to understand the flow of the office. You have to understand the flow of people. You have to understand the flow of the air conditioning and so on and so forth. So social distancing inside a physical space is going to be a big problem. And this is exactly what AI and IoT can do together. This is the first point I'm trying to make. Second one is things such as spikes, management of spikes. Now that has become a big problem now because it is becoming more important, because the occupancy rates are getting very weird. So people are sort of trying to say that there will be a lot of occupancy, less occupancy, or actually you don't want to have spikes. Exactly. So you don't want to have a lot of people coming at the same time. So you want to be able to understand when people come and go so that you can have an algorithm which sort of prioritizes people within there. So that's a startup, by the way, which does that, called Gridium. Yeah. The third one is Trulia, which is a San Francisco startup which uses computer vision to exactly analyze people's photos and then customize what, or rather present to you what you think you might want in a room. Yes. So you look at your existing data, maybe on Facebook, maybe on Instagram, and then you tell me that it appears from what I'm trying to post, but I would like some colors in my decor. And this again, the data for this comes from myself, probably in the public domain, probably given with some consent and permission. Yeah. Skyline is another quite a well-known AI category, which analyzes very large number of features to analyze the price of a particular house. Why that helps is because AI is basically good at that sort of thing, where you have not one or two features, not 10 features, but 10,000 features, which affect the price and the occupancy and the sales and the leads and things like this. So this is exactly where AI would be used. And this is sort of the previous discussion which was going on, because you can do this with 10 features or 20 features or 100 features. When you have 10,000 features, which include oddball things such as Wi-Fi coverage, which I guess is not so unusual, but traffic patterns, noise patterns, pollution patterns, so on and so forth. And each of them are dynamic. And I think that this is where AI would be a key going that. Then Zillow also has an interesting idea, similar take on the previous one, analyzing the photos. But in this case, it is for photos for houses for sale. So when you have a house for sale, they take quite a few pictures and they're able to kind of predict the price based on those pictures with that. So this is what I mean by AI is providing you an entirely different approach, an entirely different way to price something, and more options to price something which you perhaps would not be able to do. In fact, you will not be able to do in the conventional way, because people cannot analyze thousands of photographs of a house and then come up with the price of what that house could be. Yes, which is what we're talking about here. Doxel, this is a very interesting company which uses all sorts of things like LiDAR, drones and 3D images and stuff like that, and construction sites, tries to say exactly how the construction is going. And this is about data capture, because the primary source of this data comes from these little robots, which you see here, which roam around the construction site, and the drones, which also monitor the construction site to say that, okay, from the data I have gathered by this data, this is what is happening in my plan, and therefore you should speed up XYZ and things like this. The next one is content capture 2.0. This is a whole bunch of technologies which kind of extend the basic OCR facility, and this is the object. The basic idea of OCR is just capturing documents, but you can do a lot of things with documents, with natural language processing and so on and so forth. So this is the key portion of AI, which means that you're sort of extracting all this information from historical documents within them. Then there is another company called Enava, which recognizes, again, lots of documents, and again, in almost near real time. Then there's a company called Skylar AI, which is creating a sort of a chatbot, which helps you to communicate and manage your lead generation in that sense. Then there's a company called Braxlet, which looks at infrastructure investment and tries to sort of say how you should invest into a building so that you optimize the value of the building. Then there's a company called DeepKey. Again, all of these are startups, and they look at sort of how to create a green asset based on what you already know. So to summarize my presentation and to sort of leave you with some more thoughts. So AI is changing a lot of things from all over the sector, meaning everything from all over the value chain, meaning from lead generation to property analysis to property management and property recommendation. And why is this happening? Because AI can handle a very large number of features which people cannot handle and will not be able to handle. And AI is also able to handle very different types of data sets, like images, like sound, like text images, like documents, and so on and so forth. None of this people would be able to handle as well. So clearly, I think that there is already a role happening with AI. I say this because none of this is new. These are all existing startups, at least a year old. So I'm not talking about something which is set up in the last 2 or 3 months, and so on. So to summarize and to leave you with one very important point, which is to do with data. So the first thing is, when I look at AI, I think about AI, I mean, forget about the technology, forget about all the sort of cool, sexy things we talk about. You can talk about it in terms of really 3 things. The first one is decision making. Yes, so what is the type of decision you want to make? You want to automate your routine tasks. You want to automate your non-routine tasks. Yes, you want to help people to make a decision. Yes, so this is the first case is you're doing basically simple decisions. The second case is you're doing decisions which are more complex. Sorry, excuse me, I need to do something here. I don't know why the battery is a little bit low. But anyway, which helps to make these decisions complex and to get hold of data. That's the second one. And the final one is how to have different types of algorithms. And this is the final approach that I'm trying to say, is that first of all, what you need is a different type of maths. And the problem with that is because you need, as I told you, it is not just the data, but the historical data is not useful to make future decisions. Therefore, that is the fundamental problem, which means you need different types of algorithms, maybe more Bayesian, maybe more Markov, and things like this. So this is the sort of discussion which I think we will go forward in the future. So this actually concludes my presentation, and thank you very much. So of course, I will stop sharing now, Haitham, yes, and I will take Q&A, yes. Good. Okay. Just give me a minute. I just need to check the battery on this thing. For some reason, this machine seems to think that I'm going to run out of battery. Just give me a minute. I can hear you. Yes, I'm going to stop the video. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
While
okay. Good. Yeah. Yes, I think I am back now. Yes. For some reason, it was not seeming to charge with this one. Okay. Good. Very good. So thank you. This finishes my presentation. I take the Q&A and yeah.
Right. I'd like to again go back to see some of the points highlighted earlier, and thank you so much for the interesting presentation, which gives more of a overall wide seeing what AI can do and help with in different areas. And I can see maybe one of the main things here is how AI can, through all collected data, through any developer's database, can develop a marketing and sales strategy, i.e. they know where each project they've done, what kind of clientele they had, the customers, where they sold, how much they kind of, it works in different regions, where their background and stuff. How can we utilize such thing to kind of to enhance their strategy? I'm sure that some of the developers do, but I think it's quite interesting to see if the developers go back to see what is the kind of evaluate what are their segmentations of sales and marketing, and how do they direct this through the data they have.
So is it a question for me? Yes, or do you want me to answer this? Or
yes, yeah. See, there's just I mean, how do you see it? The AI can help in this thing.
Yeah. So again, to what my point about AI. And again, taking away all the technology terminology, I think basically it is a matter of a very large number of features which could help to make a decision. Yes. So again, in many cases, we are looking at leads, we're looking at acquisition of data, we're looking at pricing. All of these can be done with a small number of features, with a small number of data, or with a very large number of features or a very large number of data. And in my opinion, AI is always a solution for more complex problems. And this is very important to emphasize this, yes, because AI, if you had a very small thing which fitted in one spreadsheet, yes, I think this is not a solution. This is like taking a big gun to kind of to kill something very small. Yes, so I think that this is what you need to sort of I need to sort of emphasize is that we are talking about big problems here, and I think that big problems is what AI is good at, and it is a good vehicle for that problem. So I think that we are always, and I think we will have big problems. And I say big problems in data, big problems in features, big problems where you do not have data which model the problem. For example, the things I mentioned in the last thing, specifically in COVID, this is an important thing because, like I said to you, the data which has led up to this point is different because this is like a different event, meaning it has changed the nature of the trend of the data. Yes. Yeah. Cool.
Yes, I mean that takes me to the second kind of point of now we understand how AI can solve a problem and even complicated and sophisticated problems. Now, can AI help in improving the process, i.e., all the developers that have done projects in the past, the process, the project management, and how to manage the whole process from understanding where they've been and how they've been doing it to a more, I would say, improved, efficient way of doing it through AI. How do you see the implementation could work in there?
Okay, so I think the management of processes is two or threefold here. The first one is that there is a number of existing techniques within AI which can help in any situation or any management, either of real estate or not. Yes, so I'm talking about things which lead to optimization of something, which is the same thing which we perhaps looked at, which we call operations research and things like this. So what you learned maybe years ago, those algorithms or techniques apply to AI and to any problem, any project. Yes, the difference with AI projects is that you have very large number of features. You have complex or hierarchical features which help to make the decision process more complex. The second part of it applies to real estate specifically. Yes, so there was a company I mentioned in the, I think in DocCell or DocCell or something like this. Yes, so in that situation, the solution is the capturing of feedback data. Yes, because what you have to do is you're not just building something, you're not just making something, or not just creating a building. What you're wanting to know is what is the real state of what is happening. Yes, this you can do by capturing data from sensors, you can do by capturing data from drones, you can do by capturing data from robots, which are actually monitoring the field-to-field situations within that. Yes, and doing that actually gives you a more realistic solution or rather picture of where your project really is at from the data you have captured from all these different domains. Yes, so I think that this is the kind of feedback loop. I totally agree. I think in the beginning, I think Mr. Ahmed Salah said that this is still kind of quite new and we are going to implement this. I think even in the UK, this is new. I'm not saying that this is happening here where people are sort of having drones to monitor construction sites and things like this. But I believe that these are the solutions which are needed, and this will happen probably faster due to COVID for various reasons. People want to reduce risk, people want to manage risk, people want to reduce the impact of people, other people getting together, etc. So I think that this is how I see projects being managed with AI, using existing techniques, using techniques which apply to any industry, and techniques which apply to a specific real estate industry. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. I mean, my last point here is I can see part of your presentation where was highlighting startups and how the AI can help the sector with different startups. As Egypt has a young population and population which kind of more involved in technology and building their part of their future, as it were. How do you see the education and part of the AI implementation could help the next generation and future of AI implementation in Egypt?
Yes, I think that education is a big gap in many ways. Specifically in case of every country has a number of advantages. I think in Egypt there is a strong IoT industry. There's a strong industry. People are building sensors. I know this personally from outside of this discussion as well. And I think that there is a clear kind of trend to automate things and make things with Arduino. I've seen a number of projects from Kickstarter coming from Egypt, which are kind of looking at small sensors or creating new sensors and so on and so forth. So I have some understanding of this situation. I think that startups are going to be the future to many things. In terms of the skills, I think this is the major thing, I think, which will be impacting a lot of people, partly because the current software development skills do not necessarily apply to AI. That is the big thing. So if you look at a classic profile of somebody who has learned Java or something like this over the first 5-10 years of their career, I think that if you take them necessarily to machine learning or deep learning, not all the times they will be able to exactly get that knowledge on there, meaning that there is a very steep learning curve which has to be filled in there. And I think it's a question of retraining people and getting in new people and getting in role models. So today, this morning, I posted on LinkedIn about this UAE's Mars mission. I think this is a great thing. It is led by a woman, I forget her name, but I think this is an amazing role model for the Middle East. To have something so big and so interesting being done sort of in that region. I hope it will inspire more and more startups and more young people and young women to take up this sort of role model. So I think this is not just a problem in Egypt. I think this is everywhere. I think every country will have this very sharp shift towards sort of new skills, and this is what we do in Oxford as well, because we are always looking at how the skills industry is going, especially a course like mine, which is very much a full stack course. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, and I will refer back to the panelists and
Sure.
take some views on the presentation and kind of follow up from previous discussions. If I may go back to Mr. Ahmed Salah and get your view on presentation that been enlightening from Ajit, Dr. Ajit, and how do you see through this presentation the implementation of AI in your field? I mean, you faced I would say one of the biggest kind of implementation of smart cities in the new administrative capital. How do you see we benefit? How do we benefit from startups? How do we benefit from implementation of different things throughout the life of that small city?
Okay. Thank you, Haitham, of course, and thank you, Dr. Ajit, for a very nice presentation. Very interesting use cases, of course, and very interesting new business models. Actually, this post-COVID-19 era, we will see very innovative business models like this 2 months accommodation thing. Yes, of course, working from home will be the trend after this is done. Actually, companies in Egypt now are adopting this working from home policies. And of course, digitalizing everything now to accept this new trend. Before that, working from home, of course, this is a new thing. Working from home was a difficult thing, was a doubtful thing. You know? Okay, working from home, you're on vacation. Take it a vacation first, better. Now you can work from home, and we can monitor this, and we can see what you're doing on real-time basis. This, of course, sped up things towards this digitalization. As you said in the beginning, Dr. Ajit, COVID is the main catalyst for the new digitalization. So this is a new opportunity. Of course, this will have this economic drawbacks, but it will create new opportunities, of course, for businesses, for even people. Of course, AI will replace lots of jobs, but it will create lots of jobs on the other side. So this has to be adopted soon by all companies. We in Etisalat, as I said, we saw this opportunity and we moved towards it. And it's a good start actually to do this in smart cities, as I said. As Dr. Ajit said, there is of course a big lack of data, and smart cities, actually these sensors and IoT sensors and AI sensors, one of their main roles is collecting data. So it will be the new seeds for new analysis, new machine learning models, new data science use cases, and it will get better. It will get better. But at least we started. This is a vision made reality now in smart cities and the new capital thing. So we are creating the future now. We are seeing the future created. So by doing this, we will have the new data for better decision making, better actions, smarter actions. It will just replace anything, any overheads from humans. The machine now will take care of everything with reliable decisions, which is a big, of course, question mark or a big drawback now. We cannot rely on machines yet. We in Etisalat, for example, we have a data science team. We are helping in the analysis, but in the decision making, it's no stop there, over there. We have to see the results first and see how reliable it is to, depending on the machine, to take actions and leave it alone, and it takes actions on their own. So we are now having this now. We are seeing the results. Again, smart cities is the key now. It has all those benefits, like of course, less effort, more secure and safe environments, less timeouts and less issues in cities, saving energy, of course, by controlling lighting, controlling electricity, controlling water, fixing issues instantly. Because the machine will just detect the issue and fix it immediately. Everything now is moving towards a better state. And of course, this will drop in the benefit of new generations who will look for these opportunities, who will look for these cities now. This will make our life easier. Okay.
Picking up from this, Ahmed, it's, yes, I would say it's one of the biggest real estate developments in the world. You know, Egypt's building 13, 14 new cities from scratch. So there will be more implementation of the smart cities and smart solutions for future generations, which are going to be, occupying this, and the population will be living in these communities as much as the old generation, or the existing population moving into these cities.
So can I add something? Can I add something, Haitham, as well? Yeah, sure. So I just wanted to add one more point about sensors and smart city and things like this. And I think certainly this is some area which we are doing some research in. And this is basically 5G and AI and IoT coming together. Yes, because 5G is creating some unique opportunities. For example, private networks, kind of guaranteed latency networks for which are run by enterprises on behalf of a telco. You can run your own base stations, almost like your own base stations within a warehouse kind of situation. And this, I think, will create a tremendous opportunity. The other thing also is that 5G will create wide area connectivity. At the moment, we don't have wide area connectivity. We have basically some form of Bluetooth-like connectivity, which is great for sort of localized interaction, but you can't run an autonomous car based purely on that kind of a non-guaranteed QoS situation. So I think that the existence of 5G will be a trigger to a whole bunch of AI, IoT type situations. I mean, this is one of the key trends we are working with here in the UK with some vendors who I cannot name, and telecom operators as well. But I think that this is something very big, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll move to Mr. Ali, just to get to your view on and thoughts on again, implementation of the AI in the future. What do you think? How do we building new cities and new developments and real estate? From your point of view, how do we utilize AI into brand new developments and new cities across Egypt?
Do you really want me to answer that?
Please do.
No, Haitham, are you with us on planet Earth in Egypt? Please. Yani, are we seriously talking about this?
We have.
Yani, let me give you my mindset, please. No, guys, come on. Yani, everybody's laughing. Yani, first of all, the government became a competitor, not a regulator. So the government now is developing and being a competitor and selling land to private investors to launch new cities. The price of the land per square meter far, far, far away in the desert is for £4,000. And the government is putting a regulation that you have to build in 4 years and you have to deliver in 4 years. So they are shortening the real estate cycle of a new developed proposition to an end user, right? So again, I go back to the infrastructure in Egypt. I go back to 100 million. I go back to utilization of sources. And I'm a sales guy. I'm a guy who sells real estate. Sales and marketing of real estate. If we want to talk about digitalizing it, it's all about the leads now. It's all about the digital leads campaign. We really do digital leads to get our qualified clients to buy and lease from us, instead of doing the outdoor on 6 October Bridge, which is nearly empty because unemployment has jumped up to 40% and 25% of the workforce are working from home. So while he's working at home, there is still a need. The real estate need became an end user proposition, not an investment proposition like before. So people are still buying, yet are buying to live, not to invest. If we are doing this, and on the background of us, we're trying to use AI in new cities, right? And we're still, as sales and marketing developers, delayed in delivering units because of COVID-19 and because of 3 revolutions, 2 constitution changes. A lot of stuff has happened since 2011. So in reality, we don't have the right infrastructure to implement AI, yet we can start the $1 million question by a penny by creating the proper right digital platform to generate leads for clients. What you're trying to tell me, my answer is...
Let me ask you here. I mean, it's...
Can you please higher your voice, Haitham? I'm not hearing you at all.
Yes. Let me ask you one question here. I mean, the new cities and I can see Ahmed Salah from Etisalat, they're already implementing smart cities into the new capital, which is something that for the future. Talking about...
Let him please look in my eyes and tell me this, please.
Let me ask you a question.
Look in my eyes,
let me ask you
because Haitham Mitwalli is my client. Ahmed Lashin is my client. So look into me in the eyes and tell me we are implementing utopia in the new capital. Please,
let me ask you a quick question.
Yes, please.
Can we use the AI to tell us, I mean, from your experience, because you've highlighted, you touch base on this. Some of the clients are investors, some people would live there, and what is the segmentation? Do we have any input on this data that can help developing a strategy? How many in the new cities now are buying for investment? How many of them are buying to live? What segmentation? I understand there's different offers through the government, through different developers and different segmentations. Do we have any analysis? Do we have any future plans? How do we market it? These are cities built for everyone, not just for one segment of the population. So can we use some of the new technologies through the AI to help us directing this, or from your point of view, in improving the situation?
Sorry, who is this question for?
To Mr. Ali.
Okay, good.
Okay. Again, it's all about creating leads. Previously, I'll just give you a quick background because people need to understand. For example, there is no more walk-ins. Meetings has gone down. Brokers are not working. So the only way to continue having a sustainable real estate model at any developer is to continue selling the minimum level of number of units and revenue streams that comes to you. So digital sales is the name of the game. Now, having the proper infrastructure with virtual tours and showing the client through a journey online is very easy. The only issue is to pay online, and this requires a lot of approvals. Now, like we spoke yesterday, Haitham, leads are leads. We do not have the proper engine, the proper leads generation, the proper marketing campaigns to create your type of client. We don't work on demographics. We don't work on project unique selling propositions. We just buy leads. And we know that if you want to buy, you have a proposition that sells C plus or B, the lead is for 100 Egyptian pounds. If you want an investor, the lead is for 200 pounds. If you want to go on top of the roof like Sodiq, Amara, Mountain View, and everybody, the lead is for 300 pounds. So it depends on your marketing budget and your target. It's as simple mathematics as this in Egypt.
Let me just because we control a bit of time now. I'll come back. I'll just need to have a question from one of the audience who wants to kind of contribute to, not a question, to contribute to that discussion. And then I'll move to Mr. Majid for a quick review, and then go back to you to present what do you think about the future.
No, I'm sorry, we're losing time. I can send you guys, I can send you very well the email like Mr. Jaokar. I'll send you the stuff and you guys, because I have to leave in 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. The team from Investigate, can we get a question, please?
Hi everyone, can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yes, I'm just gonna be quick so I can be on time with Mr. Ali. I'm Damiana. I work as a business developer in a company called Silicon Waha for Technology Park. I just want to comment regarding regarding his comment that the government is competing, not giving opportunities. Just not to be taking too much time. Silicon Waha has 4 technology parks in Tier 2 cities. I have been working on an initiative for almost 1 year. So far, it's called Smart Community Challenge. This is an initiative, a governmental initiative to support all the Egyptian SMEs to transform Burj Al Arab Technology Park completely smart by Egyptians. I'm talking about the software, and we as Silicon Waha are included in the latest investment law. We offer so many perks regarding tax redemption and like the legal documents to startups who want to start their company at our premises. And I can send you some videos of the autonomous vehicles or the self-driving cars tested at our premises. And I guarantee you that this is going to be posted very soon, all done by Egyptians under the supervision of MCIT. And I cannot hear you because you're muted, but I guarantee you that... Yes, by the way, I'm only 23 years old, so please don't take it sarcastically, because at the end of the day, yes. Because at the end of the day...
Can I speak to you? Can I speak to you, please? Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you very much for popping up. Thank you very much for having the courage and talking to us. I just want to clarify my point. My whole comment on what I spoke before was on residential off-plan real estate sales. It's
yes, and we have a residential zone at our premises. The technology park is not only for technology. We have inside the park zones, educational zones, residential zones, factory zones, and we have residential zone at our premises.
Okay, what I'm trying to say, that having a mixed-use development allows the developer to be very flexible on the residential, because whether it's medical or industrial or education, this is the name of the game moving forward. So if you have a mixed-use development like the Technology City, where you have demand and serious demand on 3-4 live revenue streams of your project, like the education, like the medical, like the office space, like Regis model, where people come and take small spaces. My issue is if you have a 15 to 20 or 25% of your mix is residential off plan, that's much easier because you have a demand on 75% of your proposition. My issue mainly was for developers that went and took a big plots, residential plots in new capital, and they're unable to compete on sales and unable in the same time to pay for the land, so their back is they get stuck against the wall. Any mixed-use development in Burj Al Arab, in محور قناة السويس, in Halayb and Shalatin, close to Saloum, on the Red Sea, like the free zone that Mercedes is building their factory in Suma Bay, south of Hurghada. Anything related to mixed-use development, industrial, medical, education is flying over the roof in Egypt. And that's why developers now are turning back to the officials and trying to change their mixed-use development into more educational, medical, and mixed-use development instead of residential sales. Thank you, Damiana. I hope I'm clear.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. Okay, Ajit.
So Damiana, I'm quite interested to hear what you have to say if you just contact me and send me more about autonomous vehicles and stuff like that.
Sure.
I'm quite interested in that particular thing.
Sure, I'll do it today, sure.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Damiana. I need to go back to the panelists. Magid, sorry, it took us a little bit of time to come to your contribution to this part. What do you think? I mean, how do you see again in terms of VR, AR, and AI changing the future of the real estate in Egypt?
Well, it's changing the future, period. So the real estate being part of everything that's out there, so it will definitely change. And again, while most of the focus is on the sales and marketing, I see there is a lot of use cases and potential, even from the pre-design, design, actual construction, all the way until after sales. So, and again, AR and VR can definitely help, and there are actual use cases that can do that. But there's still a lot of the new use cases that are out there. We just received an inquiry from one of our, from someone who wants to create somehow an AI or machine learning application where people can just upload the mood board for their design, and then somehow the system can recognize the colors and recognize the style of the furniture that they use, and then come back with suggested product list from actual markets or stores that are out there. So again, this is something that's not out there, but it might come or it might be somewhere else. So again, I see it not only for sales and marketing. Of course, I can understand the pain for Mr. Ali about the sales, the leads, and all of that, and I can understand his frustration. But again, when we talk about AI or all the emerging technologies, they will not be limited to help with the sales and marketing. They will be across the whole pipeline from design all the way until after sales.
I mean, one of the key questions here, because from our side as a BCI, Egypt has been trying for some time now to develop the international sales for our amazing properties across on the Red Sea or on the Mediterranean, for international to be again to emphasize the tourism and people to buy second home in Egypt as a destination. How do you think a VR and AI can help transforming this? I mean, it was always an issue for people who have never been into that part of Egypt. Yes, most of the people interested in Egypt, they've been already to Egypt and they like it and they want to do it, but they haven't been part of that zone, or not. Yes. They've been to Sharm el-Sheikh or Hurghada or on the north coast, with the Mediterranean coast. But they want to see how things, where are we, what is the offer, how do you think implementing some of the AI and the VR can help us in promoting more properties on international platforms?
I think AI, to start with, can help with mapping of the right leads that can be interested in a certain zone or a certain city or a certain property. So that's something that I think can help. VR and AR can help with the visualization of it. So if it's an already built, like a virtual tour can definitely do magic, immersing the users into an experience as if they are there. And even if it's not built, we can do 3D models so people can actually do the tour inside. So visualization and seeing the property. And I think one of the, like, ElMoheen is definitely a very good example of a successful international sales. It is actually now a very cosmopolitan city with most of the residents there are actually foreigners. So that could be one thing that we can look at, because it's not only about the tools that you use, it's also about the positioning and about how you sell and how you market your property. So it's all like a connected cycle.
I think we have to move now to a part of the engage with more of the audience and get some Q&As from the wide audience before we get to kind of to close the session shortly after. So if I may, there's quite a few questions. I'm going to go and address them one way or another. Now, the first question is about VR and how do you see, I think Majid, how do you see the VR business in Egypt? How do they, there's so many requests here to understand, is the market and the developers are willing to implement VR and AR generally in Egypt, or is the market still needs to be kind of developed more?
Well, the interest is growing, of course. Like I mentioned, I actually did my first VR project back in like 6 years ago with the very first prototype of Oculus headsets, and it was very hard at the time to convince people, because most of the people that I was talking to never seen VR before. That was a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. And the quality was really horrible compared to what we see today. So everything is developing. But from my first-hand experience, I see a lot of requests from real estate developers who want to develop a virtual tour for their properties, whether they're built or still under construction. And even for the delivery, some of the developers ask us to do a virtual tour for the site where people can go in and take actual measurements and leave notes for the developers, so they can. So there are still innovative ways of how people are looking at it. But again, the short answer is yes. The market is adapting. The market is definitely accepting more, and there's more and more VR. If you check on most of the big developers, you will see that they have a virtual tour. They have something that's out there, that they are using the technology, embracing the technology already.
So do you think there's another question from Sharif and Nabarawi saying there is a lot of hesitation from developers on when they decide on using VR generally, and possibly they don't see the value as much, or they don't see the added value or kind of sense how that would benefit them. How do you think that should be challenged with them to kind of showing them how is the benefit for them?
Well, of course, it's hard time for VR, for typical VR, because nobody wants to put on a headset, even for exhibitions that we're talking on. People that when people start to flow into an exhibition or a shopping mall, nobody wants to put on a headset on their heads anymore. Although you can substitute that with the 360 tour that you can use on your phone or on your desktop, but it's not technically VR. This is like VR maybe back in the 90s. When I first started, we did this type of virtual tours. But again, the hesitation and the adoption of the market, it's relevant to the price, the budget, and actually in these times, people are either afraid to spend much or are going the other way, so they're spending as much as possible to gain as much clients as possible. So it's I know it's but again, I compare it like over the years how it's gone from even in the 90s until today, how real estate developers are using the technology. And I think there's a great possibility for adoption. And it's about how you convince them with the return on investment and how useful this can be for them. And some people are just believers. They believe in the technology. They know they want to do this. But and on the other hand, there's a growing, again, like I said, population of developers. There's a real, interesting number of VR studios that are developing various solutions for training, for cultural heritage documentation, for a lot of use cases. It's not only about real estate. So, and again, I wouldn't limit it to VR because there's mixed reality. There's a lot of technologies that can help, maybe not with the sales and marketing, but again, if we talk about real estate in general, there's a lot that can help with all the different phases of the development and production.
Great, thank you so much, Magid. I'm going to go to Ahmed Salah. Now, part of the questions that we've received as Etisalat is for Etisalat is through your implementation of the smart cities and using the AI. Are you engaging with, or how do you see the capabilities and the skills in the Egyptian market? There is quite a few requests here with some great ideas and some great offering some help there. How are you engaging with the community? How are you helping the community to develop such capabilities?
Okay, I'd like to say that the education in Egypt is actually noticing the new technologies emerging, and they are encouraging new students to create their projects and graduation projects using machine learning and deep learning technologies. And even the Ministry of Telecommunication and the MCIT is adopting this new technologies and encouraging students to study these technologies using these scholarships on platforms like Udacity and Coursera and LinkedIn Learning. All these platforms are now doing these scholarships with the Ministry of Telecommunications, and they are doing it for free for students, for graduates, to develop their skills in data science and machine learning.
Okay, great. Thank you.
The population of data scientists and machine learning engineers is getting bigger, and I get these questions from lots of new students. How can we study? What should we learn? How can we develop ourselves? Do you have some internship opportunities even, or jobs for us? And we are helping them. We are trying to help, and we are trying to guide them to create this population of data scientists, because they will be needed a lot, actually, in the coming days. Actually, there's of course there's shortage now.
For implementation and future, you need capabilities and skills and people, young generation, to be ready to take it forward.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
It's exponential growth anyway.
If I may add to this, there's even an initiative now the government is taking, not only for the fresh grads, but also for software companies who want to venture into machine learning. They have an initiative with AWS, and they are going to actually run a course for interested developers and software developers who are wanting who want to learn about these
to move to the data science and machine learning technologies. Yes. So the population is getting bigger, and the opportunities, of course, getting bigger as well. Now, actually, data science teams are centralized. I see the future that every team will have a data scientist to automate what the rest of the team is doing, to make it smarter, to make it faster, to make it to make a faster time to market. So every team will have a data scientist, every team will have a machine learning engineer to make their life easier, of course.
Sure. Ajit, there is a question here for you. It's about how do you think implementation or the use of data from land registry or in the UK, similar to the UK, in the real estate market in developing countries, how do they use such data to implement more of understanding where things are and the direction of the real estate? Is there anything that we can get out of that using the AI to solve problems with, as it's huge problems here in developing countries with registration and land registry? and collecting data on side of this. So the question is, how do you see implementation of such thing with the help of AI in a country similar to Egypt?
So I just want to clarify the question here, because as I understand it, the land registry information is freely available, yes? Even in Egypt also, yes? So whatever is available, no.
Not yet. It's not digitalized. It's not available freely yet.
Okay, that's why I was not clear about the question. I did see the question there. And I think that was not why I was not sure about what the question was, because I think that to a certain extent here, this kind of information is as much as possible available, and the government strategy has always been to have this open data, transparent data type of thing. The question is what you do with it, and that's interesting. I think that there are many people who take the basic information and try to add more value added services to that. So for example, the example I can give you perhaps is even data sets of ancestry.com. Yes, I mean, if you look at your ancestry, yes, so this is sort of the historical names of surnames and where people came from is already known generally in the public domain, but then you can add some more value to it and so on and so forth and create a service on top of that. So I think that that's the way to go, but I think that the question here is if the data is not publicly available, that I think is a government question really. Because as far as that from the UK point of view, I think generally it is available. I'm not an expert on this side, but I believe that the land registry information, I can go on the web and find out everything about a given property. And I can go to sites like Rightmove, for example, which can tell me when a certain house was sold. So if I can go and Google my own postcode and see from that postcode, which are the area houses which are sold around my house and what they were sold for and which year kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this information is transparent in the UK, and that I think is a regulatory issue.
Right. While we're here, there's another question from
Yeah.
Mohammed al-Habal. It's about what are the perceived technical qualifications required for future graduates to an AR or VR software developer?
Sure. Yeah. So I think that this is the range of possible things. Yeah. It's a range of possible solutions to ways to answer this question. And this was partly, I think, the previous thing where Magad was referring to as well. So you can implement AI in many different ways. Yes. So one of the key things people do not realize is that AI is becoming simpler to implement as well. Yes. So for example, if you look at the cloud platforms like Google or Amazon or Azure, yes, those platforms are making it relatively easy to do fairly complex things, and they're making drag and drop, kind of making some kind of an icon or suggestion or things like this, which will help you to implement a classic algorithm, which is regression, classification, some sort of basic deep learning type of stuff. I think when people talk about real qualifications or real things, so this becomes a more complex question. So for example, some of the kind of things we teach and work with tend to be what I call at the higher end of AI. At that point, you are mostly involved either in creating a new intellectual property based on your algorithm, or you're trying to create a new algorithm, or you have more maths based on that. Yes. So this is a more different level of a problem. I think that many cases, I think that there will be a spectrum of this education thing. So if you ask me today, how easy is it to learn AI? I will say it is not easy. Sorry, it is not hard, because there are many easier ways to learn the basic implementation of AI. But it depends on what you are trying to learn and what you're trying to go into that. I would say currently, to answer that question directly, I think if you have a engineering qualification in maths and science, something technical, I think you can master most algorithms, most of AI. It need not to be even in computer science, because if you do fluid dynamics, for example, yes, you are doing some modeling. You're doing some modeling of your wind tunnel. You're doing things like this. Yes, so you can take that idea and apply that to machine learning or deep learning. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Magid, I'm just going to go to Magid again quickly. Someone is asking here, what is the difference and main implementation between AR and MR?
Okay, so augmented reality and mixed reality. Now we're using the term XR, which is extended reality, and that includes everything: AR, VR, MR, and any type of divergent reality that would rise. So in simple terms, between AR and VR, to start with, the VR, the screen becomes your world, and in AR, the world becomes your screen. And it's pretty much AR and MR, it's pretty much similar. The only difference will be that in MR devices, they can map and 3D scan the space around you. So they have all the computer-generated content somehow placed and smartly in context with the space that you are in. So that's I would say, the key difference.
Someone was asking about the cost of having
yes.
the
VR headset.
The VR headset. Yeah. Would that be a limitation of expanding the VR or AR?
Well, it's definitely a limitation when we talk about the consumers, but not the enterprise. Like when we talk about B2B, if they can't spare like maybe starting from $500 to put on a VR headset, it's like not really that much of an investment. But on the consumer end, of course, the price tag is definitely a challenge. But also, like everything, it's definitely the price is getting lower, the devices are getting better, they're getting to be more standalone rather than have to be connected to a computer or a mobile. So it's developing, and it's developing fast. If you see over the last 3 years or 4 years since the official birth of commercial VR, it's developing rapidly. There are headsets there that they claim matches the human eye resolution. So there are things that are really, out of this world. That's
my last question before we're getting into the closing remarks and of the session for you, Magid, is how far are we of using hologram in Egypt?
Okay, so holograms is technically nothing more than a visual illusion. So it's basically you have a reflective surface that you have a projection put on somehow. And there are a lot of hologram installations out there, and there are companies that are actually do hologram. We did a hologram theater, a full hologram theater, 6 meters by 3 meters in an event before. So the technology is there. Okay. We actually get most of the components from abroad.
We expect to see it in the market soon?
Well, the closest thing to hologram as such is augmented reality. So when you open your camera and you see your space, and then you see a virtual character or a virtual whatever computer-generated content appearing, this is the closest to hologram. But hologram, the way we are used to it, it's mainly a visual illusion of a reflection on a surface of somehow. And actually, it's out there. There's been many implementations. Kulthum hologram, they've done it actually few times in Egypt, in Cairo Opera House, so, and even in some commercial applications as well.
Okay, perfect. Now, I just want kind of quick word from each of the panelists about the session, and what do you think that should be in a very short kind of couple of sentences maximum, just to see what do you think the market needs to implement, and the implementation of AI and VR in various states. So I'll start with Dr. Ajit.
Yes, so firstly, thank you very much for inviting me here, and thank you for all the panelists and all the presenters and all the audience as well. I think it's a very interesting experience. My kind of concluding thought about this one is the difference between necessity and nice to have. Yes, so the big thing about COVID is that it has made many things necessity from nice to have. VR is one example. Yes, I mean, we were talking about this just now. AI is also another example. Yes, I mean, there are many areas now have become a part of this big. If everything is going to be sold digitally, then I think that you have to do everything possible to enhance that digitally, which means AR, VI, all of these technologies have become part of the necessity. And I think that is my concluding thought about this, because I think all of these things, and I also see there a lot of potential, especially with AI and education, and also with Egypt, with the younger population. The real estate thing, with a bit of a a bit of a learning for me as well, because this is not an area I am very familiar with. I am familiar with real estate from a security point of view, but I didn't talk about that here at all, because I understand that more from cybersecurity, sensor security, that type of stuff. But this was not a discussion to discuss that. So I think thank you very much, and it's a good experience for me to learn as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ajit. Mr. Ahmed Salah. Sorry, can you unmute? You are muted.
Yes, thank you. First, I would like to thank you, Haitham and Investigate, for inviting us here, and thank you for all the panelists who are here with us. First of all, I hope this session was somehow an eye-opening for the audience, for the new technologies and new developments. I can say we are somehow in a good position here in Egypt by the implementations we have. The implementations I saw myself, and the ones like Demiana mentioned as well. The education of the data science and machine learning and AI and IoT is in a good pace and a good place. So hopefully we will see more development in the future, and to serve the new generations, and so of course to serve the real estate industry with these new technologies, and develop more and more projects like smart cities, and see these integrations with telecom companies, with the real estate companies, with technology companies, to make better development and better future, inshallah, in Egypt and the Middle East even. Thank you.
Very much. Majid, for very short, in 1 minute.
Sure, I'll try to make this as brief as possible. Once again, thank you everyone. Thanks to Investigate for organizing this, to yourself for moderating, and all the speakers with their remarks and presentations. It was really informative and eye-opener even to myself. So again, my concluding remark is, like I said, it's the fusion of these technologies that will create the new wave of innovation. When we have AR, VR, and AI, and blockchain, and all of these emerging technologies, when we come up with a new use case that combines these somehow, and we're definitely all on the verge of a whole new world that is shaping at the moment. And I think, like Mr. Ahmed said, we're in a good position, and it's happening as we speak.
Thank you so much, Majid. Ajit, sorry, I've received a late question, which we can answer very quickly before we go. Someone is asking, with the technologies of AR, VR, and AI, how do we use these technologies in construction part of the business and through the process? I think we've highlighted some of this before, but in a very short answer, how do we see implementation of that?
So I think that in construction, some of my examples were talking about that area, because they were talking about startups which help into construction. But the basic philosophy is still the same, that you are capturing more types of data. You're capturing data at different points. You're capturing many features, meaning instead of taking a small group of features, you're taking maybe 10,000 features. And then you're writing an algorithm which manages all this data and tries to synthesize that into a prediction or a classification, which either helps reduces the cost, improves the experience, or something like that. So the what you're doing has not changed. The scope at which you're doing it has changed from two features. One is the amount of data, and the breadth of the data, the features of the data. Cool. You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much, Ajit. Unfortunately, we have to close down to close kind of the session. At the end, I'd like to thank very much Investigate for hosting the Digital Week and preparing this panel and inviting all the panelists. I would like to thank our official sponsor, Tatweer Misr, thanking our Digital Week sponsors, Mountain View and KVRD, and again, thanking our learning partner, Nile University, thanking our strategic partner, Nile Preneurs, and thanking our media partners, Cairo 360, Cairo Gossips, and Kalam Al-Qahira. And right at the end, we would like to again remind you there's another session tomorrow highlighting the impact of blockchain technology on real estate sectors. again from 1 to 3. If you would be great kind of to see you all again tomorrow and follow up the rest of the week. Digitizing the Restate Week, and sponsored by or organized by Investigate. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much to Marloes, Knippenberg. Thank you so much to Ali Abdul Ghaffar, who had left earlier. Thank you so much, all of you. And it was much enjoyable session, and hopefully to see you soon and have further discussions.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you,
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.